Welcome into the Gaming Discourse. I'm Tyler Frater alongside Richard A. the Cruz.
Hello.
And Chief Engineer Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
Hello.
It is Monday, February 13th, 2023. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at the Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse. Patreon.com/the Gaming Discourse. You can support us. $2, $4, $7, and $10. You can get your name in the credits. You get early access to videos. We may have some other new things coming up soon. So go check that out. Latest video is about Half-Life Alyx and the Half-Life 2 VR mod. Sort of like a compare and contrast about each game and why I think the Half-Life 2 VR mod is superior. Go check that out. I have the script for the next video is done, and I will probably finish the video end of this week sometime. It'll go up for patrons for a few days, and then it'll be released publicly. So I would say definitely by the weekend, by the end of the weekend, we should have a video out to maybe the public, if not to our patrons. So I'm not sure about the timing for that. But yeah, other than that, not a ton of news this week. It was a slower week, but we are going to discuss Hogwarts Legacy a little bit more. And then we're just going to dunk on Bobby Kotick for a while.
Hell yeah.
It's a nice like...
It's therapeutic.
It's therapeutic. It's like, it's coffee after a long day kind of a thing. Just talk shit about Bobby Kotick is always fun. Okay, Connor, why don't you talk about...
I have played very little because work and
You're
whatnot.
disappointing me.
I'm sorry. Well, I did play, actually last night for about 8 hours. I did nothing but play Minecraft because I just needed something just mindless.
Yeah.
Just to relax after a really strenuous work week.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Minecraft really is a cool game.
Yeah, I did the mining and the crafting.
Yeah.
But don't you have to I don't know, you have to build portals to get to places?
Yeah, I have another portal, yeah.
And I think that it's pretty cool. I don't know. Listen, I'm not somebody that's and we're all like this. I don't believe there's a game that's a kid's game, maybe except for the games where it's click on the basketball or something like that.
Yeah,
but
educational game.
Yeah, educational game. But Minecraft, you play it, you get enjoyment out of it.
Virtual Legos.
Yeah, who cares?
I was being reductive.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
Space Engineers is essentially Minecraft in space.
Yeah.
But nobody's but Space Engineers looks relatively quote unquote realistic. So this is a game for adults. Anyway. Is there anything you would like to say about Minecraft?
No, I'm just playing it. What does there say?
I don't know.
I don't know, you could talk about
blocks.
something. Well, okay, yeah.
Okay.
I was curious if you built something cool.
Yeah, did you? No? You don't want to share any of your experience?
I'll take screenshots when I get home.
So you can remember.
Okay. Richard.
I have not played much either, but I hate my relationship I have with Nintendo because
Don't we all?
yes.
I was going to say, we all.
Every week we're here and we're like, Nintendo sucks, steal from them,
No, we don't. Nintendo's the best. We don't want bomb threats.
But they had their direct last week, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And of course they announced Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games on the Nintendo online membership that you pay for. And what sucks and why I hate my relationship with Nintendo is that I have a modded Switch that can just do this stuff. You just do whatever I want. I already have some of this stuff on there. But then Nintendo goes, yeah, it's on our little app. And I go, oh, shit. I got to go get it. I got to go play it. And so I did. I turned on my actual Switch that's not modded. And I downloaded the update and everything. And I started playing some Game Boy games, which I could do at any other point at any other time. But because it was an official thing, I don't know. It makes me feel something different for some reason.
And chances are, the copies that you're playing it's a very good chance you are playing the exact same copies
yes, sir.
as on your modded Switch.
Absolutely. But I find, but beyond that, I checked out, because I haven't played it, the Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins is what it's called. And there was the second Mario game for the Game Boy. The first one was more of a traditional Mario game, kind of somewhat, at least the first level based off the first game. But it kind of goes into some crazy territory because Nintendo kept giving Game Boy games to their B teams They're like, oh, it's this little Game Boy thing, so
okay.
you can. But what happened is their B teams end up being like their creative teams, like way more creative than like original Nintendo. So they, or you know, the main Nintendo team. So they tried weird stuff, and Mario Land 2, more so than the first one, is actual like true blue Mario game. The graphics are at a point to where it's just like, oh yeah, that's obviously Mario. I'm jumping. You know, the levels are way more detailed than the first game, but I find that its controls are a little floaty. Like Mario is a little floaty. He either jumps too far left or right than normally.
Okay.
You had that problem when we were playing Sonic. He was a bit uncontrollable. And I'm not saying Mario was uncontrollable in Super Mario Land 2, but it was just from what he usually is, it was just off a little bit. But you get crazy worlds that you play in, and you have to grab 6 golden coins because this is where Wario was introduced, and he steals.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you got to go to his castle and beat the crap out of Wario. But after this game, they never made another Mario Land for the Game Boy. It turned into the Wario Land series, and that makes sense because playing this game, it feels like I'm playing Wario Land and not actually Mario. It's, you know, without any context for like you guys playing it, I know it's difficult to explain this stuff, but for those who have played it, it's very cool to kind of just, you know, go back to 1990 and play a game and see these really see how well they were able to create a game for this little brick handheld 30 plus years ago. So I was playing that, and I played a little bit of Kirby, which Kirby was really good too, because that Kirby premiered on Game Boy, and these games are bigger than I thought they were, because we were in an era where it was just little LCD crappy games that literally beeped and booped at you, but these ones actually had full levels, they had credits, they had full really, really good songs, as we'll soon find out, at least, you know, for something else I'm working on. But I just played those. I didn't really get to do much else beyond that.
Connor and I grew up with Game Boy Advances.
Yeah.
We played that. We played, what do we have? We had Hulk.
Yeah.
The Incredible Hulk, the movie tie-in, which you could do multiplayer in that. And could you do co-op? I don't remember. You could do multiplayer and I guess fight each other or whatever. But like somebody would be like a blue Hulk, which was weird. They would just change the color of the Hulk.
There's a red Hulk.
Yeah.
Is there
and a gray
in the comics?
And a gray. Yeah.
Jeez, there's just too many comics. It's just too complicated to follow these days, you know.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
But
there's some good Star Wars games on the Game Boy.
Every time Nintendo does something like this, it reminds me of the Clickhole article, the heartbreaking with the worst person you know just made a great point.
Yeah. Yes. No, that's really true, because all the announcements in that direct, or at least most of them, were just like, wow, this is so cool. I can't wait to play this. Wow, this is so cool. I can't wait to buy this. Yeah. It's like, no, like, what am I doing? It becomes a thing I hate.
Sometimes Nintendo makes me think they hate video games as well. But, okay. So I've been playing a few things. I didn't intend for this to happen, because, like, I was trying to be disciplined with my games I'm playing and stick with Disco Elysium. But Disco Elysium is just, I can get like, you run into walls in Disco Elysium, and it's so writing heavy that occasionally it's just like, all right, I gotta do something else. I gotta do something a little more active, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm playing Callisto Protocol, which I did not think. I found out at GameStop. It was a used copy. It was a PS5 copy, used. And then for some other reason, there may have been like an additional sale. So it ended up being like 30 bucks off.
Cool.
So that's like huge discount, right? A game that came out, a couple months ago. I am really enjoying Callisto Protocol, but it is a bad video game, which is weird because usually I'm not somebody that enjoys like bad video games.
Yeah.
But Callisto Protocol is a bad game. I'm enjoying it. I don't quite know why. If the game were medieval fantasy, I probably wouldn't enjoy it. But all you got to do is show me a dude in a spacesuit, and I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. So
It's okay to like bad games. I'm just
standards.
saying. Like, okay.
No.
Today we found out Tyler's a slut for sci-fi.
So Callisto, yeah, I kind of want to go through a little bit of what makes Callisto Protocol so bad. And it's a lot. So nothing in the game is new. So much of the game is like, okay, I have played this before in 1,000 other games. And that's really disappointing. The game feels like they prioritized visuals and they made like a it's almost like a tech demo. They have like really simple gameplay and they just pounded away at the visuals to make, because the visuals are insane on the PS5. There are frame rate drops, which is frustrating because this is like, I don't know. I don't know what goes into making video games and stuff, but consoles are like a finite environment. You would think that performance on a console is intuitively, it seems like that should be an easier thing to achieve than on PCs, because PC is this weird environment where people have different hardware and stuff like that. But a console is like, unless somebody's modding their console, everybody's going to have the same stuff, maybe a different hard drive. So that could maybe change things. I don't know. But there are some frame rate dips, which is disappointing. But so Callisto Protocol, which, by the way, I don't know the actor's name. Josh Dunnell?
I have no clue.
He was in Call of Duty World War II.
He was the sheriff
Dumel?
in Mandalore.
Yes.
Yeah.
He looks like the actor from Justified. They look like each other. No, those are two different actors.
No, that's right. That's Timothy Olyphant.
Yeah, he looks like Timothy Olyphant.
That's right.
I think it's Josh Dumel or something like that. Dumel, yeah. They look like each other a lot. But anyway, I had no idea he was in the game. I had no idea that was him on the front cover. He's the main character until a little bit in. I'm like, wait a second, is that Josh? What's his face? And there's another actor she's in The Boys. She plays Kiko, I think her name is. She's in it. But anyway, so you play as, he's a freighter. He carries, he has a ship, transports goods, whatever. And he's going to a prison planet. He's going to Callisto, so a moon. Shut up, Connor. And
I wasn't going to say anything.
But you were.
But I wasn't.
So he's taking stuff to Callisto. His spaceship crashes. After it crashes, the guards come and like rescue him from the wreck. And then they decide to just throw him in prison. Which, so it's like, what am I doing wrong? Oh no. And he gets thrown in prison. And then he wakes up and the prison is chaos. And you have to fight your way out of the prison. But you're really only in the prison for like an hour. And after that, it just becomes a very generic sci-fi hallway environment. Because prisons are scary, right?
Yeah.
You've got, you're trapped. You don't have your freedom. People have done illegal things. There's corruption. There's abuse, right? Prisons are like this inherently, there's like something scary about a prison. But the game sort of tosses that aside. The combat, I think, works, but it kind of reminds me of like Guardians of the Galaxy. Like it's just the entire game is the exact same thing. So the way the combat works is when an enemy attacks you, your movement stick, all you have to do is strafe left or right. And when an enemy attacks you, Jacob is the main character's name. Jacob will dodge that attack. And then when the enemy attacks you again, you don't have to time it. There's no timing windows. You just have to press it before they attack. So, the enemy could attack. I go right. The enemy attacks again. I just press left. Once the attack gets close enough, he dodges left. And then you swing at them with your melee weapon and you hit him a couple times. And then once you hit them a couple times, the enemy is staggered, but Jacob is staggered, and it goes back to like, you have to wait for the enemy to attack you again. You can't stun lock an enemy and beat them up a bunch of times. So it's like you dodge once. And again, dodging is not like in Elden Ring where you have to time it and it's super intense. All you got to do is just move right or left. And as soon as an attack gets close, he automatically dodges.
Tyler, you're just describing Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
I mean, it might be. I've never played it. But that's the entire game. You do have a gun. There's a little thing where if you dodge a couple times, a little targeting reticule is displayed, and you can aim and fire real quick, and that'll like knock off the enemy's head or one of their arms or something. So that keeps things active, but that's combat, and there aren't too many things that it does to shake it up. Sometimes an enemy will, once you get like halfway through the game, tentacles will pop out of their chest.
Ooh.
And this means that they're about to mutate into like a stronger form. So you just got to shoot them, and then they die, and that's it. Now, if they do mutate, all it becomes is, okay, you just got to dodge, and you just have to hit them a few more times to kill them. That's basically it. There's no like new dimension. But it's kind of bizarre because at one point in the game, I'm walking around and you're going through these creepy corridors, and the game is setting you up like something new is about to happen. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, new enemy type. And you see something in the distance crawl at the end of a hallway, and Jacob goes, "What was that?" And you're like, okay, new enemy type time. Here we go. We're getting something new. And you reach to a point, and the enemy is this bloated thing crawling underground. You shoot it, it explodes. That's the new enemy type. It's like, wait, what? Like the exploding enemies?
Yeah.
This is the new enemy type? Okay. Later on in the game, you get a new enemy type that is clickers. They hear. They can't see, so they walk around, you wait until they're not in front of the door you need to go through, mm-hmm. and you walk through the door. Mm-hmm. If you get up behind them, you can press X to stab in the back of the head, you kill them.
Nice. That's
it. It's really depressing because the visuals are off the charts, but it's just like it's like they worked, a couple days on gameplay, and then they said, all right, fuck it. Now let's do everything else visuals. And everything else, and visuals are amazing. It didn't really stop me in my tracks. Part of the reason it looks good, but part of the problem is that the environments aren't that interesting. It's just rusted, generic sci-fi interiors.
Right.
There's no like...
Oh, like the original Dead Space.
Yes, yeah. But that was 2008 though.
Yeah.
And you can kind of understand that. And the original Dead Space even has certain themes to it, right?
Yeah.
Because... Isaac's suit is like evocative of a diver or a knight, something claustrophobic. We've had this conversation. Mm-hmm. That's evocative of something. Jacob is just wearing a prison suit, and then he just gets a spacesuit, and it's just there's nothing evocative about it. There's nothing that you can look at it and say, "Oh, this reminds me of this. This reminds me of that." It's just a generic spacesuit, right? But there is one moment where you go on the surface of Callisto, and there's a really bad storm. It's like a blizzard, and so there's snow going everywhere, and there's like lightning in the distance, and the lightning flashes, and you can make out these really curved, jagged mountains, and it stopped me in my tracks, and I was like, oh wow, that looks awesome. This looks like Alien. This looks like the beginning of Alien. All these weird mountains and thunder, and then I walked a little bit, and there was an enemy, and it was the same exact fight, and I was just like, okay. It's bizarre. It is really weird. The story is also bizarre. I have not beat the game, but okay. So I'm probably 3/4, maybe a little more than half. And I swear to God, if there is no twist, I'm going to be dumbfounded. And because it is so strangely written. So, I don't know if the twist is going to be like a Shutter Island thing, where it's like, I don't know if you've seen Shutter Island, where he's an inmate the whole time, but he has like this weird amnesia, something like that. But anyway, is it okay if I spoil something?
Yeah.
Good, sure.
Okay. So you meet...
Spoiler warning.
Yeah, if you care about Christopher.
So like 5 people in the world.
I'll tell you what, real quick. I was not interested in playing Callisto Protocol for the story.
Yeah, and the story is not great thus far.
Sure.
So I will say this:
go ahead.
If you were like me, and all it takes is a spaceship and a space gun to make you want to play things, then mute us. Go ahead, a few minutes, whatever. If that's not you, then I really think the story's not that great. So okay, and again, I haven't beat the story. You meet this character. It's a guy that's been in prison for like 20 years, mm-hmm. and you don't know why he's been in prison. But him and Jacob sort of team up because the prison's chaos. Mm-hmm. There's just monsters. Mm-hmm. It's just complete. There's no control, right? So it's this buddy thing where it's like, okay, I've been in this prison for 20 years. I know it like the back of my hand. You're a pilot. I'll take us through the prison. You can fly us out of here. Jacob's like, okay. And the whole time, this guy's really cool. This guy seems really nice, but he's been in prison for 20 years. Obvious question. Why is he here? Right? So there comes a moment. Richard almost did a spit take. So tax evasion, insider trading,
Callisto with you.
Parking fines.
Okay, so there comes a moment where finally Jacob. There's this scene where Jacob goes, "So what are you in for?" And the guy goes, "What, are you afraid you're helping a murderer escape?" And Jacob's like, "Well, yeah, kinda." And the guy goes, "Yeah, I murdered somebody." How interesting is that? What an interesting bit of story, right? You meet this guy, he's really nice, and he's a murderer, but he's kind of your only hope escaping.
Yeah.
Like, can you judge him? But he killed somebody. What an interesting dynamic for a story. Smash cut 15 minutes later, he dies.
Oh.
He's out of the story. Like, and he dies in a really stupid way, too. You're in a airlock. You get airlocked out. You get blown out into Callisto, which it doesn't matter. Anyway, you're in the airlock. It prematurely opens. You get blown out onto the surface, right? So, Jacob wakes up. He's like, "Oh God!" His helmet. It's doing the sci-fi trope thing where the helmet isn't down, and he's like having trouble breathing, and finally he gets it down and his oxygen's fine. And so you're walking through Jason instead of saying, I forget what the guy's name is, like Elias. He's like, "Elias, where are you?" You're walking through. Visuals are amazing. You finally meet up with Elias. Okay, he's like 200 yards away, way far away from where you got spat out. And it's like the road is like curving and bobbing and weaving and stuff. You get over there and his helmet is broken. So he died because his helmet broke somehow. Yeah. But it's like, well, wait a second. What? But he got from when you woke up, you were right outside the airlock. There's a whole super long, like 20-minute gameplay sequence, and he's there. But what broke his helmet? What did his helmet break and then he walked over there? Well, then, like, why did he leave Jacob alone? What is this? It makes no sense. And then he dies, and it's trying to be all emotional. But I'm just like, wait, no, back it up. Back it up. Who storyboarded this? What the hell's going on? Another character.
See, and that's what you get when you import helmets from Ganymede.
Should have ordered them from Andromeda.
Yeah, honestly.
Okay, I'm sorry. I won't talk much more about this. It's just this game is bizarre. Another thing. There's this one character. She's the actress from The Boys. I don't know her name. You don't have to look it up. It's fine. So she does not like Jacob. She does not like Jacob. And the reason
she seemed like she was a cop.
She's not a cop.
Okay.
The reason she doesn't, it does in the promotional material, it does kind of come across as she's like a security agent.
Okay, right.
But she's not. She's actually in the prison. So she's an inmate. So she does not like Jacob for kind of a weird, complex reason.
Yeah, makes sense.
Kind of a confusing reason.
Who would like a guy who's just trying to survive, huh?
So their relationship right after Elias dies is, I guess we have to team up because this guy I was escaping with died, and now she has her own story that's kind of interesting. Anyway, so now it's gone from your partner is a friend, right, to now your partner is antagonistic. Dynamics different now. But smash cut 10 minutes and you guys are buddies now. Hey Jacob, be careful, okay? You got it. They just become friends.
Sounds like it's ticking boxes. Like in storytelling.
Now here's the thing. I do not know if there is Shutter Island nonsense going on.
Right.
Because the writing is so weird and bizarre that it's like there has to be a twist. There's gotta be. Because none of this makes sense.
Yeah.
But I've played other games that were like this and there is no twist. It's just straight ahead bad writing. So anyway, I didn't plan on talking about Callisto Protocol that much, but there you go. Oh my God. It is comical how many I'm just going to call them clickers, and how many you have to walk past. It throws like 10 at you, and you just sit there and wait until they like wander in a direction you don't need. There is literally like zero innovation. It's so weird. You got your health on the back. You've got a little grappling thing, just like Isaac had. You stomp on things. I'm trying to think. Is there like the enemies are all very generic looking? They're just zombified humans. There's no like in Dead Space, the enemies were cool as hell. You got the first necromorph things, then you had the big ones that exploded.
And you got the babies.
Then you had the ones that crawled, but then you had the ones that like the tall walking guy that you would shoot, and his arms, legs, and head would become enemies themselves. I don't know if you remember that guy.
Yes.
Awesome, terrifying, right? This is none of that. It's just the same thing, and they all fight the same way. One enemy spits acid at you. You just gotta get close to them, and they revert to melee combat, and it's the same melee combat against everybody else. It's just weird, man. And I hope I don't know what Krafton's like attitude. I know that the game did not sell. I know they're disappointed in it. But it's like you can see the visuals are really impressive. So it's like they just need to bring somebody in that knows how to make a video game. I'm sorry, that was mean. Because there is a commitment here. There is a commitment to make like a really good single player game.
Mm-hmm.
And the video game industry is volatile, right? It doesn't take too many flops until your studio doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. Yeah. I don't know what the state of Striking Distance Studios is. We've talked about them in the past with them making a 4A game, blah, 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 whatever. And obviously Crunch and not putting people in credits. So it's like I'm rooting for them because this is bizarrely bad. And I there's got to be a twist, because if there isn't a twist, it's going to be just preposterous. But I'm really hoping that they're able to do like I don't know if there needs to be a sequel. I haven't beat the game, a Callisto Protocol 2 or something else, because if you can just add some like folds to combat, right? A couple different enemies would go so far in Callisto Protocol. It's insane.
It sounds like there should be some really cool weapons in that game too.
And there really isn't. You get a pistol, you get a shotgun, you get a pistol shotgun, and you get a pistol that fires a little bit faster. Those are the weapons I have found. There is other weapons. The weapon upgrades are like, and man, this stuff. Listen, here's the thing. Okay, this is something that video games need to fix. All right.
Can we get a sounder of that? Here's the thing.
Okay, upgrades need to be. We need to make upgrades exciting, right? Like, oh shit, that's awesome. I can't wait to use that. Instead of upgrades being, the gun carries more ammo now. That's useful. Like, upgrade it in a way that is fun and interesting. And maybe it's a choice. Maybe there are 2 upgrade trees. And, depending on which one you do, you don't get to go to the other one. I don't know. It's just, Horizon Forbidden West did this, right? They made the upgrades come with, now there was a lot of them. So a lot of it didn't get used, but the upgrades changed the dynamics of the weapons, right? So the bow, you could shoot it in the air. It would volley over enemies that held shields. Obviously, all of a sudden, you could shoot over and down on top of them, right? Which is amazing. So it's like, that's fun. That's interesting. It drives you to want to upgrade things. Instead of in Callisto Protocol, it's like, upgrading isn't fun. Upgrade is like, I have to do it because it's going to make combat get over with quick.
Right. Okay. So it's
and
a chore.
That's not fun, Anyway, okay, I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm done.
Real quick.
Done.
I'm not saying there's a connection because he's been great in other video games and other IPs. But if we're talking bland video games and like mediocre or bad video games, Days Gone also has a voice actor.
Yeah.
Sam Witwer.
Yeah, he's in this one too. Yeah. Man, Days Gone is bad.
Yeah.
Sam Witwer's a fine actor.
Yeah. You did great as Darth Maul and a couple different
fine
Star
actor.
Wars appearances.
Star Killer.
Yeah, Star Killer. Yeah. But yeah, in this one, his character is his character, there's something, he's like a villain. You don't see him a lot. I'm assuming I'm going to see him more soon, but his character is strange too, because it's like, it's a person that's not all there. It's not a person, a character that's not all there. Like you expect something else with the character, but they're not there. There is one really strange scene where, sorry, I know, I apologize. Okay.
We really need one more thing sound.
Or an Oscars playoff. No.
A playoff. Don't talk about playoffs. Okay.
Yeah.
I promise this is it.
Practice.
I promise this is it. So Sam Witwerth's character he's like the head guard, not the warden, but he's like the captain guard in charge. He's the guy in Shawshank Redemption that almost throws Tim Robinson over the
Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown. Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's a good one. Yeah. That's a good name. Okay. So he calls the jail his kingdom. This is my kingdom, right? He says it like twice. You at one point in the game, you're sneaking behind him because you're trying to like get around him, and he sees you and he holds you up with the stasis glove because you don't have it yet. He holds Jacob up, and something happens and he drops Jacob, and Jacob turns and there's a door behind Jacob, and there's all these zombies on the other side of the door. So the guy goes, so Sam Witwerth goes, remember, I told you this was my kingdom. And Jacob goes, you can have it, and opens the door and like shields himself from the zombies, and the zombies run through and tackle Sam Witwerth, and they fly out of a window and fall. And it's like, oh, you don't see him again. But it's such like a action movie scene.
Yeah.
But this Jacob guy just crashed and was put in prison and has no idea what's going on. You know, his whole life has been upended because he has this spaceship. He's running. He's doing, just one more score, Arthur. Now all of a sudden he's an inmate in a prison that's being overran by monsters.
And he's the next action hero.
And he pulls a one-liner? Like, what?
Well, the right man in the wrong place
can make all the difference. Honestly, sometimes people get like, why do all video game characters need to be,
action stars?
Or not action stars, but like, why are so many of them silent protagonists? It's like, this is why. Because you get nerds that write one-liners and it doesn't make sense. Anyway, I'm done.
They're still stuck in their 80s face.
Let's do the news. Thanks for listening. If you like our content, please consider subscribing or leaving a like and comment. You can find us at patreon.com/thegamingdiscourse. And our tiers are $2, $4, $7, and $10 and include getting your name in the video credits, early access, and access to our Discord server. Okay, so we're going to touch on this Jason Schrier story. He wrote a feature about Hogwarts Legacy and some of the development details surrounding its development, stuff like that. I'm not sure if we'll get into the whole thing with J.K. Rowling again. If you guys want to talk about it, we can. Some background there. J.K. Rowling is a TERF, transphobic, and that's sort of the SparkNotes version. And we'll link a couple of videos by Contrapoints and stuff in the description if you want to get sort of more details. And we talked about it more in more detail last week or the week before. I don't remember.
It was the week before.
A few interesting details from Jason Schreier's story that was just posted a couple days ago, I think. Hogwarts Legacy's production was riddled with challenges. Avalanche, which is the studio that developed it, had growing pains switching from games made for kids to big-budget open-world games for quote-unquote adults. Avalanche was used to working in silos, but had to work more closely together, which led to some hostility. Avalanche worked on Disney Infinity?
Disney Infinity and Cars 3 Driven to Win before this.
Yeah, so a lot of like Disney tie-in stuff. I don't want to not to belittle it or anything like that.
No, that's fine. But real quick, Disney Infinity, although a quote unquote kids game, was a pretty good hack and slash.
Yeah, and it was super popular.
Yeah. It was very good. Anyways.
Rowling's comments about transgendered people rattled some developers. Developers questioned whether they wanted to work on the game. Some looked for jobs elsewhere. Others pushed the company to make a statement or acknowledge the controversy. Warner Bros. President David Haddad said during an employee hands-on meeting, all hands on meeting that Rowling was, quote, entitled to express her personal opinion, end quote. Troy Leavitt, who you'll remember we have discussed in the past, was, I don't remember his specific title. He was a lead senior developer. Not sure if he was in a leadership position or not, but a senior developer left after people found he had a YouTube channel where he defended Gamergate. He spoke to Jason Schrier saying, quote, "We wanted to make a game that felt welcoming and inviting to everyone. It was a way to extend the invitation a little wider so that more fans could see themselves represented in the wizarding world," end quote. So in the game, you can swap, you can have sort of a male presenting character with like a female voice.
Mm-hmm.
So there's even a trans character. And as far as I've read, the game's super diverse with all kinds of different races and stuff like that. Leavitt still says Gamergate was about ethics in video games journalism, and believes the game's press has been ideologically captured. Schrier doesn't expound on what exactly ideologically captured means, but I think we can all have sort of an idea. Do we have anything that we would like to say past kind of what we've already said about J.K. Rowling or about the story itself?
Just a couple of things about the story. I mean, it's always, like what the Warner Brother president said, she's entitled to express her personal opinion, but, like we retort, it's not, that doesn't protect you from consequence.
Sure.
And there should be consequences for something like that. And it's great, but also it's great that the devs who stayed pushed the company to try to speak up and say something on it. It doesn't seem like it worked, but we need more of that. We need more people to stand up to like anything that they don't feel comfortable with to say otherwise. So I thought that was great in the story. And then this guy, Troy Leavitt, it's just very hypocritical, with his quote saying he wanted to make an inviting.
Well, sure. Yeah, I'm sure he really believes that.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm not somebody. I watched him. He was initially, when news broke that he was leaving, he resigned. He wasn't fired or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I went back and watched some of his content, and I don't know, man. It's one of those things where it's like touching a hot stove with Gamergate.
Oh yeah.
It's a litmus test. I think in some ways, depending on how you discuss it, it just sort of exposes what you think about certain things. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. For me, there was just so much harassment that I have trouble believing people that can look at it and say, and somehow come away not completely horrified, Yeah. We had bomb threats. There were, not we, but just in general. Beyond that, yeah, the entitled to express her personal opinion, that's cowardly. But that's what an executive does. Yeah. Executives are not in positions to make the world better. They're in positions to
not burn their bridges.
Not burn their bridges. to have their shareholders make more money. That's all they're there to do. So yep. To expect them to, I mean, in my mind, like, yes, J.K. Rowling is free to express her personal opinions, sure, but I don't know, man. At what point is it bad enough that an executive needs to break away from corporate speak? And I think here it is. Kyrie Irving is free to express his personal opinions about Jewish people, but like, is that all you want to say about it?
Right.
Because what he's done is horrible. So it's like, I don't know. I totally empathize with the people in the company that wanted to say something, because this is not an issue that's like some super complicated political issue that has it is complicated, but it's not like, I don't know, about a war that has been going on for 20 years and that has no clear good guy, bad guy, anything like that. This is about the existence of a group of people and people that don't like that those people exist. And to me, that's pretty cut and dry. But that's what you should expect from executives, because they're not there to make the world a better place. They're not there to show any semblance of humanity. They're there to increase value for shareholders, and until they do that poorly, they're
Right.
they're going to be there. Yeah. Is there anything else we would like to say before we move on? Okay.
I think that.
Go ahead.
I think that a game about wizards should have more than 31 spells in it.
What?
Yeah, there's only 31 spells in Hogwarts Legacy.
Is there really?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I have not. I mean, I have not.
And Skyrim, a game not necessarily about wizards, but has wizards in it, has 171 spells.
Yeah, but come on. Some of those spells are like the dumbest spells in the world. You can cast fire on the ground and it does nothing because it's a little tiny wall of fire.
It still has more spells than a game exclusively about wizards.
But the game does have more spells than the movie. Just like 3 spells.
Yeah. Well, named spells at least.
Oh, yes.
Because you see them doing
different things, without saying
tons of
anything.
magic without doing anything,
How come in Harry Potter you don't have to say something to like shoot a bolt out of your wand? Or do you?
You kind of do, but you don't, because J.K. Rowling's not a really good writer, and she wrote a hard magic system and then easily gave up and switched to a soft magic system.
Okay, that makes sense. I will say this, as somebody who grew up a Star Wars fan, I feel vindicated, because I was always like, why do you want to be a wizard when you could be a fucking Jedi? And now it's like, George Lucas sucks, but he's not a bigot as far as we know.
Oh, right.
I mean, Jedi are just space wizards with soft magic.
Yeah.
No, they're more than that. They're in tune with I don't know. Just
Okay, sorry,
talk about
they're
the next
space
story.
druids
That's better.
with space magic.
Okay, let's dunk on Bobby Kotick. Let's make ourselves
Hell
happy.
yeah.
If the Microsoft Activision Blizzard falls through, Bobby Kotick will stay as CEO.
Is that a threat?
It might be.
It might be. It might be a more realistic outcome, unfortunately. This is according to Fox Business. Sources also say that the UK's Competition and Markets Authority will eventually see that the Microsoft
We need the cha-cha.
Yeah, do it.
Go ahead and this is your fault.
I like
This is you. This is you.
the cha-cha.
Go ahead.
I'm burgundy right now. I'm just reading the teleprompter, and it's micro/active blizz, and I'm like,
It makes sense to me, okay?
No, it makes sense to me, but it just, anyways.
Here's the thing. I write the rundown, okay?
they'll eventually
You walked in here, you fired.
Listen here, hot dog.
All right. The CMA will eventually see that the merger is good. The story says. The story also says that it will not hurt gamers. Anyways, sources also say that the reason the CMA is the only real roadblock is that they don't offer legal recourse after decisions. The FTC took the merger to court, but Microsoft and Activision think they will win based on the facts.
Yeah. So if I gather that correctly, if the CM, which is the Competition and Markets Authority, whatever, in the UK, if they say no, you can't like appeal and go through an arbitration process, whatever. Not a lawyer. As opposed to,
Bless you.
if the FTC says no, which they sued Microsoft and then they went through court, my throat's destroyed. Anyway, so okay, here's the thing. So obviously, Bobby Kotick's horrible.
Yeah,
he is as bad as my throat at this moment. Actually, my throat might be better than Bobby Kotick. And I guess when I look back at the stories about Bobby Kotick stepping down, it wasn't in relation to the stuff at Activision Blizzard. The stuff that happened with like, you know, the harassment and whatnot, which surprised me because I thought that was one of the driving forces behind it, because he also like turned down his salary and whatnot. I apologize for everybody listening that I'm basically just dying from pneumonia over here.
Tuberculosis,
yes. But anyway, Activision Blizzard has shown itself. It just completely apathetic to anything that has happened. I don't see how Bobby Kotick. Listen, I don't like calling. I'm not like somebody that likes to call for people's jobs and stuff, because it's like, who am I to do that? But there was institutional failure, and no one's to blame. J. Allen Brack, that's who's to blame, and a few other like mid-level managers and stuff like that, but not the CEO of the company. If other executives are going, why not him? I don't know. The reason for him staying is probably more complicated, but that just bothers me. So fuck the guy. And fuck Yves Guillemot too. Go ahead, Richard.
Activision Blizzard knows that probably nothing will happen to them, and they're acting like it.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're trying to like kind of ultimately.
I was fighting off a throat.
I know you were, and you're trying to push past it, but
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so this story was on Fox Business, which is not a website that usually reports on video games, but this wasn't really a video game story.
In fact, they should keep their mouths shut when it comes to video games. I don't know.
Is true.
Oh, okay. It is true. I don't know.
But I was curious because I read through the Fox Business story, whatever, made the rundown. And I was like, I wonder what the comments have to say about this. So I found these comments hysterical. Richard, you're going to read them.
Okay.
These are real comments. I did not make these up, but these are 1,000% real comments. Okay. So right beneath the rundown, Richard, here's the first comment. I'm just going to paste it. Go ahead and read that sucker right there.
Who actually plays those games anymore? They've gotten too complicated and stressful to play. Not worth all that money. I just play a few 80s and 90s games now.
Who plays Call of Duty anymore? Who plays the multi-billion-dollar franchise anymore? I don't know. Okay, here's the next one. This one is probably my favorite. After this, it's all downhill. But but this one's really good. Go ahead.
Microsoft is an extremely woke company. If the merger goes through, there is no exclusive game that would entice me to buy a Microsoft Xbox. I'll stick with the PlayStation platform.
There's nothing woke about PlayStation. I mean, last
you heard it here first.
He's the only time this guy heard about Xbox was when they announced that they were doing the sleep mode thing, the energy saver mode.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. Okay, here's another one. This is a good one. This one I think that we can all agree with, but
Blubber Boy has a good thing going with Buzzard. Besides, he can never find meaningful work elsewhere.
There we go. And if we were on Letterman, this would be the I don't know what
is that in regards to?
I guess Bobby Kotick.
Okay.
Who he calls Blubber Boy because Bobby Kotick is slightly overweight, I guess. I don't know.
That's true. Okay. You see his face, I'm like, scroll.
Okay, and this is the what's the
when he does his top 10?
Yeah, I know it's not Letterman anymore, but what's like the musician's name with the glasses?
Oh, Anthony Fantano?
Not Anthony Fantano, the guy on Letterman. It doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah,
him. You know, this would
Max. No, never mind.
This would be the moment. This would be the moment where they would like top 10 list. You read this one, and then Paul Schaefer. Yeah, there we go. Here we go. Ready? Here we go.
He wrote some jams. Yeah. I'll stick with my Atari 2600. Anyway. You can get the entirety of the Atari 2600 on Xbox.
No, this badass. He's
going with the original.
This guy watches Yellowstone nonstop on a loop. He worships Kevin Costner. He's all about Fox Now or whatever the streaming service is called, and he sticks with his Atari 2600. Like a real traditional
real
Christian American.
Yeah.
The way God intended.
The way God intended. Don't play that Microsoft woke bullshit. Play PlayStation, because PlayStation, according to the gamers, is very not woke.
I love how, like, whatever. I'm not going to get into it.
So we're not going to do tidbits.
I got that Microsoft story.
Okay.
Oh, you sound disappointed.
No, I'm not disappointed. It's just 10 minutes ago, my throat gave out, and so here we are. We're making fun of comments on a Fox Business story. That's where this podcast has gone. So.
Microsoft has now confirmed that. Are we going to do this? Do you not want to? We're not doing the thing, right? Okay, all right. Microsoft has now confirmed that Game Pass has.
Yeah, we can do it.
He's already started.
Okay. Microsoft confirms that Game Pass cannibalizes sales. The UK competition, and this story is from GameIndustry.biz. I will be saying things verbatim here. Sure. The UK Competition and Markets Authority's provisional report on the Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition includes an admission from Microsoft that putting games onto its Game Pass subscription service cannibalizes sales of those titles. They said, quote, Microsoft also submitted that its internal analysis shows a redacted percentage decline in base game sales 12 months following their addition on Game Pass. CMA noted it in their report. That confirmation runs counter to the claims that Phil Spencer made in 2018 that the Game Pass boosts sales rather than undermines them. I remember him saying that.
Yeah.
Quote, when you put a game like Forza Horizon 4 on the Game Pass, you instantly have more players of the game, which is actually leading to more sales of the game, Spencer said, adding, you say, well, isn't everyone just going to subscribe for $10 and go play this thing? But no, gamers find things to play based on what everyone else is playing, end quote.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised.
I'm not.
And
I think everyone saw this coming.
Well, we all thought at some point that this run of like super cheap, something has got to give, right? Microsoft, and it's not just Phil Spencer. It's they've had other people in various interviews essentially say, yeah, we're not breaking even with this, but we're Microsoft, so we can hemorrhage money and still make this thing work.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to go super duper psyop conspiracy theory, do you put this? Do you say something like this with the intention to show a potential consequence of this deal not going through? Because if you remember, now that's a conspiracy theory. I don't believe that's what's happened. But if you remember, Phil Spencer in an interview with The Verge, I think it was just a month ago, talked about that if they didn't get King, there would be certain aspects of the business that would be unsustainable, right? And at the time, we were all super skeptical because it's like, really? Microsoft is, kicking ass and taking names right now, and if you don't get King, suddenly your business is unsustainable? Or are you just saying that because you want to put out this doomsday scenario to somehow drudge up public support or something like that for the merger? But this, I think, is more believable because it just makes more sense. Like, of course, people are paying $10 when Starfield comes out.
Yeah.
How many people are just going to play that on Game Pass?
Yeah.
A ton of people. And it's not just that Microsoft has this service, but one of their Xboxes is built with Game Pass in mind.
Yeah.
Right. And the PlayStation has the same thing too. But Microsoft built the whole idea is the ecosystem. So this one I buy a little bit more. Now, what is the result of that? I don't know. But Connor, what you've said in the past is Microsoft makes so much money elsewhere that the benefits of Game Pass are not necessarily monetary. It's getting people into the ecosystem. It's sort of like these other facets, which still makes sense to me. But yeah, this, I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if the Game Pass price goes up some points.
I think it has to personally. But we already see there are way more people. There are way less people who nowadays want to have a physical thing and don't really care if they have a digital or a streaming version of their game.
Yeah.
We can look at, there used to be tons of DVD collectors, Blu-ray collectors. There still are, but compared to the people who just decide that they'll watch whatever on Netflix, then move on, that percentage compared to each other is greater than people think. But because of that, or because of Game Pass, I now, just at my stores and in general online, see that the physical prices of some of these games drop dramatically. Like, even though they are older games, like the Gears of War series, like 4 and 5, like $4 each, $5 each.
Wow, really?
Yeah, you can find them for that much for sure. Absolutely.
Wow.
Like the Forza Horizon series still hangs on, but a lot of them are sub $20 nowadays. Halo Infinite, I know it was released last year. I know everybody's kind of played their fill, but it's already, for their premiere like Halo title, it's already around like $20 to $30. So, sure, you may have more people playing Game Pass, but you do have another facet of the industry that kind of takes a hit with like the physical game sales, or at least the prices of the physical games. But also, you do have the ability for Game Pass games that are multiplayer games to kind of thrive again. Maybe games that haven't been thought of in a while, if they get put on Game Pass and have a multiplayer aspect to it, that multiplayer section gets revived. Like Killer Instinct is a good example, like old fighting game, but now that it's on Game Pass, you could probably find a match easier because there are more people willing to download it and try it out.
Yeah, because it's included.
Because it's included. So,
and I wonder if that. I think this is pretty much the point you were just making, but yeah, I wonder how much that goes into their thought process. Because if they know that 12 months, like 12 to, I don't know, 20 months after a game releases, that the physical edition of that game is either going to be sold on the secondary market or is going to be discounted.
Yeah.
So they know that. So do they see it as we can make more money with Game Pass subscriptions than we can baking on like physical game sales or sort of that money long term?
Yeah.
Because with Game Pass, your save is tied to Game Pass and all that, as far as I know. I don't think you can transfer. Well, you probably could if you played a game on Game Pass and then transferred this and then bought it on Steam or something. You could probably transfer the save pretty easily because it's just going to be in your documents folder.
Yes, yeah. It uploads to the cloud immediately.
So that probably wouldn't be that difficult. But then again, then you're buying it on Steam, so they get a cut of that. Yeah, so I don't know. Okay, I'm about to die. Are we good for tidbits? NPDs?
I got NPDs. Yeah, you don't have to talk with NPDs. Don't worry about that.
Go ahead.
Alrighty. NPDs. Matt Piscatella's back. Yay!
Hey!
Yay.
This is all taken verbatim from his Twitter thread, but I will read it to you right now. U.S. consumer spending on video game content, hardware, and accessories totaled $4.3 billion, a decline of 5% when compared to a year ago. Video game hardware spending was flat, while content and accessories spending fell. January 2023 marks the first time the U.S. video game market experienced a year-on-year decline since September 2022, when consumer spending reached 4% below September 21 levels. Drops in mobile content, physical console content, and gamepad spending drove the January shortfall. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is the best-selling game of January. Fourth consecutive month, the title has led the market in premium software dollar sales. 4 new games ranked among the top 20 best-selling games of January, led by Dead Space, which was second.
Oh,
you guys want to try to guess the other games? You probably won't.
Say the criteria again.
4 new games were ranked among the top 20 best-selling games of January, led by Dead Space. So you already got one. You just need to name the other 3.
And they released in January?
They released in January, yeah. You won't get it, but
no,
yeah, it's fun for you to guess.
Forspoken.
Okay, there you go. There's one.
Oh, hey, really?
Yep, there's one.
Oh, okay. What are people?
That was number 7.
I thought okay. Okay, number 7. I don't know, man.
The other 2 were Fire Emblem Engage, which is at number 5.
Okay.
And One Piece Odyssey, which is at number 9.
Oh yeah.
Don't discount the anime games, folks.
Yeah, they've got their market. Yeah.
Especially one that's actually unique instead of an arena fighter. Like always, One Piece Odyssey is an RPG, like an actual RPG. Anyways, so Stephen Totillo, I forgot where is he on Axios now?
Yeah.
Okay. So Stephen Totillo from Axios actually responded to this thread to Matt Piscatella. And he said in response, quote, Nintendo's refusal to share digital sales really messes with charts like this. Nintendo said last week that sales had, quote, greatly increased for the digital versions of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet compared to previous versions. I think he was stating that because Scarlet and Violet for Pokemon are number 10. And they were number 2 the month prior, or the month before. But because Nintendo isn't revealing digital numbers, that number, they could be higher.
Sure.
But
because you're going based on boxed stuff.
Yes, they're going based on box still. They refuse to release the digital information for some reason. I don't know why they do that. Because like Metroid Prime Remastered was announced and it was released the same day this last week. Number 1 on the charts for the Switch. Physical doesn't come out until February 22nd. How many people are going to buy the digital before the physical? For how many sales are we not counting? It's just a very interesting point that Stephen Totillo.
Did Matt Piscatella say anything back?
He said, "I agree." I was going to put that. But I didn't. But he basically said, "I agree." It was like 3 words. Last of Us Part 1 jumped from number 36 on the chart in December to 11th place in January, helped in part by obviously the debut of the series, which is why they did it.
Yeah.
U.S. video game hardware spending was flat compared to a year ago at $393 million in growth. PlayStation 5 and Switch hardware spending was offset by declines across other platforms. PS5 was the U.S. market's best-selling hardware platform of January 23, both unit and dollar sales, with Switch ranking second across both measures. Accessories spending fell 14% in January when compared to a year ago, falling to $165 million. A drop in gamepad spending accounted for the most overall decline. PS5 DualSense wireless controller Midnight Black was the best-selling accessory of January.
Dude, the PS5 is selling really
I heard
well.
there's over 90% increase in sales in Europe for that thing.
Do you, off the top of your head, do you know what the pace is at right now?
Oh, they just crossed
And it released
30 million, I think.
2019?
No, 20. No. PS5 released 2020.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah, at the start of COVID.
Sorry, the past 3 years have been one long year.
Yeah.
So 2020? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, I forgot about that. Right
Yeah.
after pandemic. Okay.
Yeah.
So post 2020. So we're in the beginning of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about
It's
it's
past 30
like
million.
2 1/4 of a year.
Yeah. And it hasn't even started. Like, I mean, people still think it just barely came out. Like, the PS5 hasn't even really stood. And the series.
It's going to be weird once we're like 6 more years into this console's lifespan, because no other, unless you want to open up your encyclopedic brain, no other, if you chart it out, right, the idea is like most of the sales happen and then it tails off, right?
That's just, so yes.
It's a, what's that called? What's that curve called? There's a name for it on a chart.
It
goes down, right? Yeah. And then slowly the line gets close to 0, but it never really gets there. That's the idea. But like the PS5 is going to be like this weird thing where there's a lot of sales at the beginning and then it like goes up and down. And now it's starting to like pick up. It's almost going to be like reverse. So it's going to be more of like a bell curve almost, I imagine, than like a slow decline. Does that make sense? I'm trying to...
I think the only thing that I can think off the top of my head that majorly happened was sales of the Super NES skyrocketed when Donkey Kong Country came out.
Really?
Yeah. What's that?
Big enough that it impacted like the entire history of the
sales for it? Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Because it was everybody thought it was like Minoru Arakawa, the president at the time, thought it was a 64 game when they were making it because like the graphics and stuff like that. And I forgot his name. He was the head of Rare, but he was making it. He's like, what? No, this is a Super Nintendo game. And he's like, what? And so they delayed the release of the Super.
Oh, okay.
Because they knew they could get more out of the system. So
interesting. Hey, is there anything else?
No, that's it for NPDs.
Okay, follow us on Twitter and Facebook. I apologize for my voice, which I apparently was shot in the throat by somebody at some point. Patreon.com.
John Wick, the book. Or no, it was Bourne.
Oh, yeah.
Jason Bourne.
Patreon.com, $2, $4, $7, $10, and we'll see you next week.
Okay.